Hi, this is Jared Michaelek with Salient Process, and today I'm going to take you through an exciting new update to our IBM Digital Business Automation simulation tool called DBASim. I'm going to log in with my credentials, and I'll see that a number of things have changed with the user interface, including new help features, and also new import options that allow me to import from multiple sources, including IBM BlueWorks Live. For today's demo, I'm going to log into my IBM BlueWorks Live account in order to import a blueprint that I've already created. This import feature only gives me access to blueprints that I have access to directly through IBM BlueWorks Live. For today's demo, I'm going to bring in a blueprint called the Sample Expense Approval Process. Once imported, it turns it into a simulation file that I can then run through my simulation wizard. But first, I'm going to take this into our Opportunity Identification module, which will look at the blueprint and, based on certain keywords and natural language processing, will detect where there may be opportunities for automation. In this case, I can look at the process payment, which has a command line as the system, and it identifies that as a possible area of automation. We can then go into our simulation wizard and run through the different constraints and assumptions that I'm going to generate based on this simulation. These are things like the due date or the name of the process. We can add a work schedule based on when the workers are going to be working. I can move this up and down, create new schedules for things like evening hours or weekend shifts. I can add my constraints to the process itself. So, for example, on the swim lanes, I can specify how much each worker and team are being paid and how many workers per team there are. In this case, we'll set accounting to $30 an hour, we'll set our manager to $40 an hour, and we'll set our employees to $20 an hour and set them as 3 employees per team. We can also set the average times for each activity and specify the due date of those activities, and I can set the gateway percentages so that I can indicate how often a gateway goes down one path or another. Lastly, I'll set the simulation assumptions based on how often we send in the instances, over what time period, and how those instances are going to be distributed over that time period. So we can set it to be a normal where it starts off small and rises in the middle. It could be building up over time like an exponential, and I can also set cycles. So this is specifying that we have a peak at the end of each month, or a peak in the middle of each month, or in this case, a peak in the middle of each week, so that I see the weekend coming down to virtually 0. And then I can specify how fast I want to run the process. After reviewing the settings, I click Run Simulation and see the simulation start right in front of me. If I zoom in on the diagram, I'll see indicators on top of each human activity showing the queue depth, as well as the maximum queue depth, and also the number of activity steps that have been generated. I can see also some charts and graphs that indicate the progress of the simulation, such as the total backlog on each of the activities. I can see idle time and utilization time for not just the teams, but for the individual employees. I can see the costs of each of the employees and teams, as well as the costs per activity. And finally, I can see the queue depth rising and falling and seeing the maximum queue that it's reached. Once I've run my simulation, I can then feed those findings into an ROI calculator to estimate the return on investment of a given automation. Each automation does not happen in a vacuum, and there's a cost and a benefit to each. So I can set some assumptions around the current cost of the activity, the new cost of the activity, how long the project would take to implement, and the cost of the project and software to find the break-even and justify the investment in that automation. Thank you for joining us on this high-level overview of DBASim, and if you're interested in starting your own free trial, please visit dbasim.com. Have a great day.